The economy's even worse than maybe you thought just a few weeks ago. Will there have to be another stimulus plan?
Well, look, we just got the Recovery Act into law. The money is starting to flow. Let's give it some time to work. As the process moves along, it's not constructive to constantly be chasing your tail every time new data comes in and revising all of the numbers. There's a process here. When the mid-session review comes out, we will have an opportunity to revise the assumptions.
They've got to close some big banks. They don't want to do it. We're going down the same road Japan was going down.
So you're in the same place. I had Senator Lindsey Graham on the program a couple of weeks ago. He said we're going to have to close, nationalize some of the big banks.
I don't want to nationalize. I think we need to close them. And
so when you say
confidence.
close, what do you mean by that?
Close them down. Get them out of business. If they're dead, they ought to be buried. We bury the small banks. We've got to bury some big ones and send a strong message to the market. And I believe that people will start investing in banks. People aren't buying.
You're talking Citigroup?
Well, whatever.
I don't think they've made the hard decision, and that is to let these banks fail. Some of these banks have to fail. AIG back, I believe, when we started bailing it out, I said we got to let it fail. You can't have zombie banks like the Japanese had. And unfortunately, that seems to be the path.
Would you nationalize them?
Well, you'd sell off their assets, and you have unfortunately, the shareholders and others will take a beating. But to just keep them alive and keep pouring billions and billions of taxpayers' dollars into them when they clearly are not, their situation is not improving, these are tough choices. I don't know if it's, quote, nationalizing, but it certainly is not continue to propping them up with tens or 40 or 50 billion dollars of taxpayers' dollars, and their overall value continues to decline.
A huge spending bill. It is full, maybe 8,000, 9,000 of these so-called earmarks. Many of them, people would say, pork barrel spending. The central premise of the Obama campaign, yes or no, was to change the way Washington does business.
This is like your relief pitcher coming into the ninth inning and, wanting to redo the whole game. Next year, we will be the starting pitcher, and the game is going to be completely different. Would we have written this thing differently? Absolutely. But we face a basic choice here, which is this was negotiated last fall. It's been baked in. I want to come back. It's like we are stepping in the ninth inning. You can't just redo the whole game.
Sometimes a pitcher comes in the ninth inning and changes the game. I get, but you can't, change the rules of the game and go back to the earlier innings. You can change the dynamics of the game, though, Peter. You can.
I'm going to come back and just say again. If you look at where the Congress is, this was negotiated between the House and Senate. Would we like to get the earmarks down further? Yes. Would we like to make them more transparent? Yes. Will that happen in the future? Yes.
If you make a promise, people expect that you live up to it. And that's why this administration's refusal to go in and change this bill, I think, is a false position. There is no way anyone could take what Mr. Orzog has said and with any credibility. Of course they're negotiating on this bill in the Senate right now. To say that we would have drawn it differently but leave $430 billion plus on the table like this, no way. People are expecting this administration to live up to the promises made.
Why do you think that it's a good idea to just simply freeze spending?
Our economy is struggling. American families are tightening their belt. But they don't see government tightening its belt. And I think that we can get through this year and lead by example and show the American people that the government can go on a diet as well.
The problem with them and the problem with Limbaugh in terms of intellectual philosophy is they're stuck with Reagan. They're stuck with the idea that government is always the problem. There are a lot of Republicans up in Capitol Hill right now who are calling for a spending freeze in the middle of a recession/depression. That is insane. But they are thinking the way they thought in 1982. If we can only think that way again, that is just insane. Reagan was great for his era, but it's time to move on.